You guys got to take this and try it for 90 days. 90 days, I'm giving it to you guys before we release it. What the hell's going to happen in 90 days? They're not going to fix the internet. Shut the damn internet down if it's this freaking bad. It's the greatest publicity stunt in the world. Let's go! Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan alongside my partner, the Professor Luigi Rosabianca. What's on tap today, Lou?
You know we are always on the cutting edge of technology, you especially. Today on the podcast, we have founder and CEO of KINETK, Michael Finkelstein. Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to being part of this.
What is KINETK and why did you found it?
Yeah. So KINETK really was focused on how we envision the future of intellectual property, the future of data. You know, we were talking before we went live. No clairvoyance here on how AI was going to upend the entire ecosystem. I know we're going to chat a lot about that, but really understanding that the underlying data layer of content and intellectual property, in our opinion, was fundamentally broken. Started about 4 years ago. And how could you build effectively the future of content, IP, and the social web, and really focus on the data layer of that? Started the company, raised a little money, and I'm sure we're going to talk about the founder experience. Met along the way this absolutely brilliant technologist named Ariele Montenegro, who was building a like-minded company in the space. Within 45 minutes of having coffee, we said, let's do this together. And we acquired the business last summer and rolled out the start of our data business. And really, at its core, I hate the flywheel analogy, but we're going to talk about kind of the three key parts. It's how do you bring in data? How do you do that in a real-time dynamic way? One of the real kind of blockers to seeing the promise of AI come about is the static nature of data, right? And how do you create a dynamism? How do you create a relevancy real time to how that data feeds in? Then it feeds into our back end where we've built some pretty sophisticated algorithmic models that actually can create what's called graphs, and that can map contextualize relationship. And we're going to talk about, who's using this and, where it's headed and why it's important. But really functionally at the foundation, we are looking to be part of the next wave of data ecosystem providers for the agentic era.
So Matt, in other words, he does something with computers.
Something like that. So
yeah.
Let me see if I could break this down. So essentially, are you guys building like a super organized library for data?
Yeah, we are built. So we are definitely part of building what I would say structured data from unstructured data. I use the analogy, and one of my favorite companies to study Waze meets IP. Really focused on the notion that there's a lot of data out there. And that data is changing, and that data is giving certain signals to, it could be a small business owner that's launching a new product on Amazon, or it could be a large enterprise that has hired an ad agency to drive the launch of a new watch campaign. Doesn't matter, right? The notion of how that data impacts decisioning has always been important, but it's going to become incredibly more important as enterprises, big and small, move to having agents do some of that work. And, I saw a stat recently that 40% of enterprises will have some notion of agentic ready agents doing some form of work for them by the end of 26. And so part of that agentic ecosystem, it's all predicated on data, and the signals that data can be fed into those agents. So if you're targeting the Gen Z audience, per se, that campaign can work. And so we want to be part of the layer on top of LLMs that feed really contextualized, high fidelity intelligence graphs. That's what we call them. We can talk a little more about actually what that means in practice.
All right. Can you do me a favor? Can you dumb it down for me a little bit?
Yes.
I'm not the brightest bulb.
No, right? No, you are. You are.
Anyway,
I'll give you an example.
Give me a real world example that the audience can understand, and basically me.
100%. Let's say you are running a social campaign on Instagram, TikTok, doesn't matter.
Okay.
And you put some content out there and you are creating 5 different tags on that content, right? Wouldn't you like to know if there are 2 tags that statistically perform better together than separate? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you like to know that you can drive 36% more likes if you incorporated a 3rd tag, a 4th tag? Wouldn't you like to know that TikTok's really crowded right now on this narrative? Mm-hmm. But you know what? Instagram has far less saturation in this moment on that narrative.
Okay.
And so creating what we call context, now it's far deeper than that, but at its base level, that's an example. So we can tell you statistically, if you wanted more comments or more likes or more reshares or whatever the engagement metric you decide is, that there are certain things that you're not seeing for your product that will help drive that. That is just one example of some of the things that we're building. How's that?
No, I totally get it. So basically I can look at the outcomes from your algorithm or charts, graphs that you're saying, and I can say to myself, look, I provide working capital to small businesses. I can go on TikTok right now and do a bunch of videos there, right? Do a bunch of TikToks, but it's oversaturated, where Instagram, it's a blue ocean. So I might as well place these videos on Instagram and go that route.
Yeah. And at a base level, absolutely. But even beyond that, right? It's what should be the keywords? What are the narratives that you're not actually even seeing? Maybe someone's talking about working capital that's posting F1 videos. I'm just making this up, right? The reality is that contextualized graph around hidden relationships that we cannot see is what we're building. Okay. And so that to us drives enormous opportunity for return on investment, for return on ad spend, all the things that are important, whether you're a small business or whether you're Nike, it's the same importance. How do you gauge your spend against the return on that investment? And so, yes, at your level, what you just said is absolutely true. I would like to add that it is far deeper than that. But yes, at a basis, we are absolutely unearthing those kind of hidden, we call them relationships.
I love that. It's Google Trends on steroids.
It is, yeah, it's hard, but yes, it's one of those, correct.
Michael, do you think one of your banker colleagues at Solomon foresaw this tech bro evolution of Michael years ago?
Maybe one. Maybe one. I don't know. Tech bro. I'm older, hopefully, than the tech bros.
You're just missing a vest. Once you have the vest, you fit right in.
You know what? I got it. I saw a funny meme on a graph around the logos of the vests and where that puts you in the ecosystem of tech bro-ness. I guess I have a dark blue t-shirt on. I'm not black. Okay. It is navy. So I'm channeling a little, Steve Jobs there.
So you've had an extremely interesting career. Wall Street to the music industry to the financial industry, now basically back to AI, but it's all wrapped around data, right?
Yeah, I would say that it has been interesting. I got married 3.5 years ago for the first time, and
Mazel tov.
My wife is Thank you. Thank you. My wife is realizing just how interesting being an entrepreneur is. Uh, but no, it's been, look, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, but it's being a founder, and I think there's a lot of small business owners that can resonate to this. It is not for the weak of heart, but really, you've got to be driven besides just money, right? And fame and whatever it is. It's about creating something. And I think the thread, though, has been how does data open up markets, right? Where are there changing ecosystem structural components, we'll call it, right? That allows for digitization or data or new markets to actually have seminal impact in how we do business. When I started the fintech business in 2013, everyone's got a fintech business now, but fintech, post global financial crisis was fairly new, right? I mean, banks started getting out of a lot of products. Some of the early fintech guys, and gals started creating really interesting forays into traditional atmospheres of banks or purviews of banks, and they did it through data, whatever it may have been, right? And I see that happening in every way, shape, or form today. We happen to be in the kind of content IP social ecosystem, but data to me is opening up markets in ways that I don't think we've ever seen before.
You said KINETK's building for the autonomous era, right?
Yeah.
So does that mean you're not building for people and you're building for agents?
Great question. And so I would say two things to that. One, I think one of the things that every enterprise, every small business needs to be focused on today, in my opinion, is the future consumer of your data and your intellectual property, whatever you may be doing, will typically be a machine in the future. It will not be a human. Okay. Now, how you architect your data for that, I think, is a really interesting question, and maybe we'll cover a little of that today. Second, the answer is we have two components to what we're doing. Yes, we are architecting to the autonomous era, but we also believe that enterprises will have humans that are creating actual agents that are helping them do their work. So we ultimately are creating efficiencies for humans, but we're doing it through a machine language at the agent level.
At what point, is it this year? Is it next year? Are we going to see companies start treating AI, stop treating AI like tools and start treating them like more of an operating layer?
I love that question, right? Because I think, so what took me by surprise, I think we saw a little bit of a shift in Q4 around the power of these systems, right? I mean, and you're reading a lot about it. I mean, just read about the Anthropic situation with, breaking cybersecurity and all sorts of things. We are going at a pace that.
What do you think? What are your thoughts on that? Is that just good publicity? On the media?
Sorry, you just cut out.
I said, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's just good publicity on their end?
I am not a cybersecurity expert. But it is. I think the combination of AI and quantum is going to put a complete change in how we do things. I am not going to opine on that, right? There are a lot smarter people than me that are trying to figure that out. But to your point, I do think we need to get to that place quickly where it is the operating system of the future and not just a tool. I would argue, actually, that even one step beyond it, if you think about larger enterprises, they've had a wait and see approach to software and tools forever, right? I'm going to wait till V3. I'm going to wait till it's audited. I'm going to wait till it's standard. They have to integrate that stuff today. And I think that is where small businesses have an enormous advantage of all kinds, because the inertia within these large enterprises to not actually understand the cultural shift you need to say, you know what, these are operating systems that I'm going to build with today, tools I'm going to build with today, and not just fully refined software, I think is a huge opportunity for small business owners.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we're pretty far away from AI just doing everything without human involvement. But I think it's going to be more like we're going to have a conductor working an orchestra, right?
I
With the
agree with
agents
you. I
underneath
call
them.
it human in the loop, right? I think it is 100% that's what it's going to be, at least over the next year. We're going to get to a fully autonomous age at some point.
You think so? Yeah.
I mean, I do. Yeah.
Can either
I
of
mean, I
you
think
help me wrap my head around how AI would pertain to Allbirds converting from a shoe company to an AI company? I'm still trying. I'm struggling with that one.
I was going to bring that up.
So help me understand what's going on there.
You know what? I don't know. Like, I'm just sorry. We're like Allbirds. Like I'm sad to see it go, but it is, you know what? Ask some of my old Solomon Brothers colleagues because it is financial something at work. Um, I do not know.
Okay.
That's the honest answer. However, uh, everyone's talking about compute this, compute that, the power grid. How do you power electricity, to real, I mean, this is all math at the end of the day, right? It's all heavily, right? And there is a wild game here to actually, it's not a game, really kind of harnessing compute power and what have you. I'm assuming that's where they're going with this, and they put a couple of statements in
I mean, this
AI
has to
and
be
compute.
one of the best pivots in business history. I mean, this is not exactly McDonald's adding
correct.
soft serve ice cream. I mean, this is a
No,
diabolical pivot.
Look at what they
I'm
did,
a
though.
Carvel
Look at the
guy, so
advertising they did by adding AI to their name. It's brilliant.
it is
The internet's in an
brilliant.
uproar about it. How is this
I know.
possible? They're talking about them. It's the same exact thing that Claude just did. You guys got to take this and try it for 90 days. 90 days, I'm giving it to you guys before we release it. What the hell's going to happen in 90 days? They're not going to fix the internet. Shut the damn internet down if it's this freaking bad. It's the greatest publicity stunt in the world.
Can't hate on it. I'm not going to lie. It's got
I don't hate
headline
on it.
news everywhere. I know. It's between Allbirds, or their new name, I forget what it is, and Claude. This is just the start, by the way. Allbirds has just unleashed a tidal wave of people that are now going to go do this, right? And obviously people are going to make money or people are going to lose money. I'll shift us a little over the medium to long term because I do believe compute is a thing. I'm a data maximalist. I actually believe that is going to be the key to this, and I thank my friends at Sequoia for finally writing about it. Because no one cared when I was saying it, but now maybe some people are paying attention.
So, Michael, Matt and I have a theory that there is an art form to business. What did you learn in running a record company and running a fintech company and being a banker? Because you've been in business for the last several decades. And what lessons have you learned there that you are now applying to KINETK to give you just a head start?
Wow. We don't have enough time for that. But maybe I'll give you a couple that come to mind. One is distractions are everywhere. Everywhere. Shiny objects are everywhere. Do one thing exceptionally well before even thinking through that, right? Own a specific piece of something. Like whatever you're actually doing, your North Star, to me, lots of shiny objects over there. There's a time and a place for those. Really do one thing exceptionally well. I would say two is make sure that North Star is communicated to everyone on your team, right? just because I know it, I can't think everyone else does. So consistency of communication across the company around what are our goals, what is that North Star, I think is uh, incredibly important. And the third, it's something that I truly, truly believe in. Uh, I want to hire people that are smarter than me. Surround yourself with exceptional talent in your blind spots and have, kind of the confidence and the security in yourself that people can challenge you in ways and it'll drive the organization forward. That to me is like just off the top of my head, three kind of things that I think are really important.
It's very interesting with the IP play right now because I mean we're surrounded right now with lawsuits, licensing, right? There's a lot of noise out there on what's going on. AI is training, right? It's pretty much probably read almost every website out there on all these models, right? So what happens next? What do you think this ultimately lands? More lawsuits, more licensing, different technical infrastructure?
Yeah, it's a question I've been thinking about as I've seen the last 4 years play out, right? And even just recently, right? OpenAI shut Sora. The Disney deal went away. And then there were tons of lawsuits a few years ago, and some got settled. And now some of the music lawsuits got settled. Universal leaning in on some companies, fighting some companies. The only thing I know is the space is moving so fast that whatever I say today is going to be different in 3 months, right? And good.
Yeah, no, I was going to agree with you. I've never seen anything move this fast in my life. I get a headache trying to keep up.
You know what? And I'm about to publish a piece on the notion that the cycle of innovation and the progress clock has broken. Right? It's just completely broken. And kind of not deviating too much, but the notion of going from the age of steam to electricity, from electricity to computing, from Web 1 to Web 2, each were centuries, 100 years, decades. Forget about it. Right now, we're in months, but we're going to be in weeks. And so I think what's really interesting is how do you stay ahead of that? Because the adoption curve and the velocity is something that no one has ever witnessed ever. And so I could answer the question on what I think, but honestly, in 3 months, 4 months, I might have a different view, which comes back to like one of my advice triggers, which is, you know what? Try to filter out that noise and try to do one thing really well.
Yeah, that's the question I have, right? Like a lot of people will ask me, and I'm not an AI expert by no means, but like, what do I use? Do I use ChatGPT? Do I use Manus? Do I use Claude? I go, do yourself a favor. Just pick one and roll with it because they're all getting better. And next week it's going to be Claude. This week it's ChatGPT. Just keep going.
You know what? Pick one, but invest some time in it, right? And I read something really interesting that some of the real proficient users, the power users of these tools, are like getting no sleep because their mind is continuing like they can't shut off. Either, no, it's not. No, that's my point. It's not healthy, right? So we're in this really kinetic place. All right, I'll throw a little pun out there. Right, this little frenetic place that I think is super interesting to be living.
You know what's funny, right? So I have a lot of ideas. 99.999% of them are shit, but I get a lot of ideas. This facilitates like this. Just I'm addicted to it. It's like a drug. I'm like, what about this? What if I do this? What if? And next thing you know, it's 7 hours later. I'm just here talking to Claude.
Correct. Not great for relationships, but yes, it is. It's architected that way, right? Yeah. And it is really, like I said, something happened 6 months ago where the models, in my opinion, really shifted, or 4 months ago, 5 months ago. This powerful engine that I just, it's gripping. It's wild. I mean, I'm in the space, but I'm not a technologist. I'm in the space. It's still wild to me.
Yeah, it's really wild. Like I know nothing about coding, but I could build an MVP or something in 2 days and then hand it off to like our development team and they can finish it off for something that we
100%.
need internally inside our company. That, you know, the off the box stuff, the customization, the experts that you got to pay. Here's the nuts and bolts of everything I need. Can you guys finish it?
I think, yeah. And the good news for small businesses is, honestly, and I know there's a lot of small business listeners or viewers, a lot of the platforms you use already are going to do a lot of the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Shopify, Stripe, right? And remember, you used to have to build a front end to capture, the customer. We forgot pre-Shopify how people bought things online, deep coding, what have you. So it's going to get rapidly easier. One takeaway here is a lot of what I'm talking about will be abstracted to you. The business owner, the small business owner, maybe you run a boutique agency, what have you. It's going to be abstracted. And the goal is not to be kind of paralyzed by fear, in my opinion, and actually just start learning some of this because the tools will be there for you to actually use. I mean, a lot of people are focused on UX UI. They're focused on, natural language. You don't have to code. Like there's a lot going on here, but it's moving quick. It's moving quickly.
Let me ask you this: for business owners out there, look, a lot of people hear AI. A lot of people still just think they're talking to ChatGPT, right? But they're not actually using it efficiently. A lot of business owners, unfortunately, still don't believe it's coming. A lot of workers don't believe it's coming, right? I think they're just paralyzed. They're scared. They don't want to believe it. It's kind of like my grandfather not wanting to learn how to use the VCR. That's the way I feel about this. But if you do own a company right now, what's your advice for CEOs and companies that want to adopt AI, but they don't want to disrupt their operations that they have right now? What's the smartest move? Is it just automate workflows, clean up data? What's the best thing that they can do?
Pick one thing, just one, right? Maybe you run, your accounting team. You were thinking about hiring someone as in your accounting team as a payables person or receivables. Maybe try some accounting AI software, training. Hey, there's lots of stuff out there on YouTube, on other places. There's also courses. Invest in a little bit of training for someone in your organization is going to raise their hand and say, you know what, I want to learn a little more. And have that person do whatever it is training that you want, and have them come back to you in 4 weeks and say, give me a suggestion, give me two. Do not try to eat the whole elephant, right? What's the expression? How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Don't have the FOMO that you're not a Claude expert in spinning up, code and things that are running all morning, and you don't have a NVIDIA machine in the next room. No.
Yeah, I almost went out and bought a Mac Mini to put
Okay,
Claude.
fine. See, there you go. Okay, there you go.
I see it. I wanted it. I'm like, I got to try this.
Of course. Buy Apple stock then, because I mean, everyone's buying Mac Minis, right? Do one thing. Just do one.
Yeah.
Just pick one that is not going to disrupt your business that you're going to try, and then you'll see, and then you'll pick another, and then you're not going to sleep. So it's like, that's what I would suggest, right? Do not get wrapped up into the narratives out there and all the hype and FOMO and whatever. You can pick one. It'll move the needle, whatever's important to you.
I like that. Same thing. Just pick one, start slow. Stop watching Netflix for an hour a night and just educate yourself a little bit.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And if you're watching Netflix, the guy who invented DeepMind, Dimesh, has an unbelievable documentary called The Thinking Game. It's unbelievable. It's really great. You should. It's an hour and 20 minutes. It's really on how DeepMind started before it got sold to Google, and there's a story about how they programmed it to beat the Go champion. Back in 2011. It's really interesting.
2011, Google bought them. They were really
no. I think they bought them in 14 or 15. They bought them, but he had started it, and He's a fascinating guy. But they had done it based on games, and I didn't know the story. But there's like they programmed it to play the world's leader in the game Go, which is this
Mm-hmm.
really kind of sophisticated, like old school game, right? Especially in Asia. And I mean, it's well documented. The machine did a move on the 37th move. It's called the 37th move that no human had ever done.
Really?
Yeah, it's fascinating. And it won. And it's a really interesting story about his view of why he built this and how he built it pre-Google and what have you. It's just an hour and 20 minutes. It's a great watch.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out. Well, Michael, we want to be respectful of your time. We appreciate it. If the audience wants to find you, find out more about KINETK and what you KINETK and what you guys have going on, where can they reach you?
Yeah, just kinetic.ai, KINETK.ai. Ping us, hit us up. I also can be found on LinkedIn. Love meeting people, love talking to people. I am a founder, small business owner, entrepreneur at heart. So I love just riffing about that.
Well, Michael, thank you so much. One question before I let you go.
Yes. Oh.
ChatGPT or Claude?
There's no chance I'm picking a preference on something that's going to be out there. Okay, none. Off the record reporters. No, I'm. You know what? They're both. I know people at both companies, and they're both exceptional products.
Awesome.
And what you guys do is great, by the way. I just want to say thank you for having me. And I am, like I said, a real believer in entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial endeavors, small business owners. So thank you for allowing me to come share some thoughts. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on, man. Hope to have you back in 6 months to see what that answer is. See if you have to correct yourself from the last one.
Exactly. Would love it. All right, fellas. Great stuff. Enjoy.
All right. Thank you.
Be well.
Everybody,
Thank
that's
you
a
again.
wrap. We'll catch you on the next episode.